as car was rented more than 3 weeks after Madeline's disappearance, so the only way her DNA could be found in the car would be from her dead body. In addition, police reportedly questioned Kate about whether she had sedated her daughter, leading to speculation that they suspected she may have accidentally administered an overdose. Just 1 month after the dogs completed their search, the McCanns were formally declared arguidos by the PJ. Despite their arguido status, the McCanns were permitted to leave Portugal and, following legal advice, did so immediately, returning to England on the 9th of September 2007. The next day, Chief Inspector Tavares de Almeida of the PJ signed a 9-page report, concluding that Madeline had died in apartment 5A due to an accident. He suggested that the McCanns had fabricated the story about their restaurant meal and regular checks on their children as part of a cover-up, with the Tapa 7 allegedly assisting in misleading the police. The report also claimed that the McCanns staged an abduction, concealed Madeline's body for a month, and eventually retrieved it to transport in their rented car. In October 2007, Chief Inspector Goncalo Amaral was removed from the inquiry after claiming British police only followed leads favorable to the McCanns. In December 2007, the PJ planned a reconstruction with the McCanns and Tapa 7, but they declined. However, in July 2008, Portuguese Attorney General Fernando José announced there was no evidence linking the McCanns to Madeline's disappearance. Their arguido status was lifted, and the case was closed, though it could be reopened with new evidence. He also mentioned that the case was archived due to lack of evidence, not because the McCanns were cleared. In 2011, under Home Secretary Theresa May, Scotland Yard launched Operation Grange to review the investigations into Madeleine McCann's disappearance, assigning a team of 29 detectives and 8 civilians from the Specialist Crime Command. Using mobile phone tracking and cooperation from over 30 countries, police analyzed data from thousands of phones near the scene. In 2012, detectives released an age-progressed image of her at 9 years old. By 2015, the inquiry was scaled back to 4 officers focusing on a few specific leads. Despite these efforts, no significant leads were found. According to Chief Inspector Tavares de Almeida, she died in the apartment as a result of a tragic accident, and the parents simulated an abduction after failing to care for their children. Ricardo Paiva, who acted as a liaison between the McCanns and Portuguese police, admitted that the McCanns' behavior raised suspicions early in the investigation. He noted they ignored police requests to stay quiet about the details, turning it into a media frenzy. They should have been pursued for neglect, Paiva said. People have been arrested for far less, even in the UK. The dogs, trained to detect human remains, alerted a total of 13 times, including to areas in the McCanns' apartment, their car, and their clothing. While dogs aren't infallible, the sheer number of alerts made it unlikely they were wrong in every instance. The trunk of the McCanns' rental car, in particular, raised further suspicion, as it was the only vehicle in the parking lot that both dogs reacted to. Traces of body fluids were found under the car's carpet, though these findings were later deemed inconclusive. Jerry McCann claimed the dogs had likely reacted to used nappies or old meat transported in the car. But experts pointed out the dogs were trained specifically to detect human remains. On the internet, there has been much debate about what exactly happened to Madeleine's body after her alleged death. The theory that the McCanns were able to get rid of the body suggests various possibilities, some of which include hiding it, burying it, or throwing it into the sea. While some argue this must have happened immediately, others point out that media attention eventually went down, giving the McCanns opportunities to dispose of the body in the days and weeks that followed. Locals reported seeing the McCanns visiting and renting an apartment complex near their flat. Additionally, after the McCanns vacated their apartment, both a black tennis bag and a fridge were reported missing, items that could have been involved in hiding the body. Portuguese media speculated that Madeleine's body may have been stored in a cold place before being transported in the rental car. Jerry McCann's decision to dispose of the fridge also attracted attention. He cited the fridge as broken, but instead of contacting the landlord, As would typically be expected, he chose to remove it himself. Following the dog's alert to Cuddle Cat, Kate McCann decided to wash the toy before handing it over to the police. The toy could have contained crucial DNA evidence, which was lost due to her actions. Jerry McCann attempted to discredit the dogs by citing an alleged error in a US murder case where the same dog, Eddie, had been used. However, the suspect in that case later confessed, confirming the dog's accuracy. Lawrence Myers, a professor at Auburn University, explained that while handlers can unintentionally cue dogs, the dogs and handlers in the McCann case had a strong track record. There are two primary theories regarding Madeleine's death. One is that she was intentionally killed, but this seems unlikely given the family dynamics. A murder by an outsider seems improbable, as an intruder would likely have left more evidence behind. The second theory states that Madeleine was killed unintentionally. According to this theory, a stressed-out parent may have accidentally harmed Madeleine, or that the McCanns had sedated their children to ensure they slept while the couple was out, and Madeleine may have died from an overdose or underlying health issues exacerbated by the sedative. The theory that the McCanns gave their children sedatives, such as Calpol syrup, is supported by Kate's father's admission that Calpol might have been administered. The fact that the twins slept through the commotion after Madeleine's disappearance, and that Kate repeatedly checked whether the children were breathing, lends credibility to this theory. During investigation, Scotland Yard officers identified a series of break-ins in the Algarve, including Praia da Luz, with a fourfold increase in burglaries leading up to Madeleine's disappearance. 2 apartments in the same block as the McCanns had been broken into 2 weeks before they arrived. British police believe Madeleine may have been taken during a botched robbery, with the unlocked patio doors of their apartment providing easy access for opportunistic thieves. Police explored the idea that Madeleine might have woken up and disturbed the intruders. They identified suspects, including Jose Carlos da Silva, a former bus driver for the resort, along with Ricardo Rodriguez and Paulo Ribeiro. Mobile calls between the men placed them at the scene on the night of the disappearance. The 3 men were declared suspects by Portuguese police at the request of British authorities, but were released after their arrest. They admitted to petty theft at the complex, but denied any involvement in Madeleine's disappearance. Pedro do Carmo, deputy director of the PJ, stated, "We never saw or looked at those people as suspects of the crime. This burglary theory is absurd. Not even a wallet or television disappeared. A child disappeared." In an April 2017 interview, Scotland Yard's Assistant Commissioner Mark Rowley appeared to dismiss the burglary theory, but added it was not entirely ruled out. Several witnesses reported encounters with these men. On the 20th of April, a man aggressively solicited money near apartment 5A for an orphanage that did not exist. Days later, the previous renter of apartment 5A found a man on his balcony asking for donations. On the 3rd of May, the day of Madeleine's disappearance, 2 men made 4 charity collections around the area. Despite the investigation into these leads, no connection to Madeleine's disappearance was found. With no evidence suggesting Madeleine is dead, a theory emerged that she may have been abducted by criminals for a wealthy, childless couple. Witnesses reported suspicious characters around the resort, possibly acting as spotters searching for a specific child. Several sightings of blonde-haired men near the Ocean Club were reported in the days leading up to Madeleine's disappearance. Witnesses saw 2 blonde men on a nearby balcony speaking Dutch or German. DCI Andy Redwood noted that on one reading of the evidence, the case appeared to be a pre-planned abduction involving reconnaissance. Scotland Yard sought to trace 12 manual workers, including 6 British cleaners in a white van, who were offering services to expats at the time. Despite investigating this theory, it ultimately led to no significant breakthroughs. Senior officers privately suggested that the motive for Madeleine's abduction might have been predatory. One investigator noted, "There are 38 known sex offenders in the Algarve. The area is a magnet for pedophiles." In March 2014, Scotland Yard appealed for information about a man who had entered British holiday homes in the Algarve between 2004 and 2006, 2 incidents occurring in Praia da Luz. He assaulted 5 girls, aged between 7 and 10, in their beds. The man spoke English with a foreign accent, had short, dark, unkempt hair, tan skin, and a distinctive smell. In most cases, including the McCann incident, There was no sign of forced entry or theft. Chief Inspector Andy Redwood said the man showed an unhealthy interest in young white female children, and finding him was a priority. The PJ believed the intruder in these incidents might have been Euclides Montero, a former Ocean Club worker fired for theft. His cell phone was used near the resort the night Madeline disappeared. Montero died in 2009 and was suspected of breaking into apartments to fund a drug habit. His widow said he had been questioned about child break-ins, but was cleared by DNA evidence. Some investigators cautioned against blaming a local, noting that such predators rarely risk breaking into homes. Many suspects were proposed, but ultimately denied or disproven. One theory suggested that Madeline was targeted by people smugglers who took her to Spain and then across the Strait of Gibraltar into North Africa. Gangs in the region could have easily concealed her and moved on to avoid detection. In 2007, a tourist in Tangier photographed women in traditional dress carrying a blonde girl who resembled Madeline, but the girl was later identified as a local farmer's 5-year-old daughter. In 2008, it was reported that police were investigating claims Madeline was taken by a Belgium-based pedophile ring that had ordered a young girl. The gang may have taken a photograph of Madeline to confirm she fit their requirements. A witness in Silves, 25 miles from Playa da Luz, claimed to have seen a blonde woman pass a child wrapped in a blanket to a man, who then bundled her into a car. The witness allegedly identified the woman from photographs shown to him. We think this could have been the moment that Madeline was handed over by the original abductors to a group who then took her out of the country, said a source from Metodo 3, the Spanish detective agency hired by the McCanns. The witness who claims to have seen Madeline being transferred was thoroughly interviewed face-to-face by an investigator from Metodo 3 and was deemed to be a credible witness. Spanish tourist Isabel Gonzalez claimed she saw a little girl fitting Madeline's description being dragged across a street by a North African woman. "I have always been sure the girl I saw in Morocco was Madeline," said Miss Gonzalez. Mauritania has been linked to rumors that gangs sell children to wealthy Middle Eastern families. Colin Sutton, an ex-Scotland Yard detective, told The Mirror, "The Mauritania line is certainly a possibility and needs to be looked at. If someone wanted to get a 3-year-old child into Africa, it's the obvious route. The infrastructure and contacts for people smuggling are clearly there." In 2020, police identified a German national, Christian Bruckner, as the new prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. "Our main line of inquiry is this suspect," said Stuart Cundy, the Met's Deputy Assistant Commissioner. Bruckner, referred to as Christian B in Germany due to privacy laws, moved to Portugal's Algarve region in 1995 with his then-girlfriend and lived there until 2007. They resided in a house on the edge of Praia da Luz, where Bruckner allegedly supplemented his income through criminal activities like burglaries in hotel complexes and holiday homes, as well as selling drugs. At the time of Madeleine's disappearance, Bruckner was 30 years old, white, with short blonde hair, and around 6 feet tall. Bruckner is currently in prison in Germany for a drug offense, serving a 17-month sentence for marijuana trafficking. He was also sentenced to 7 years for the 2005 assault of a 72-year-old American woman in Praia da Luz, the same location where Madeline disappeared. German media reported that he also had previous convictions, including distributing CSAM. Bruckner lived a transient lifestyle, using a borrowed VW T3 Westfalia camper van with a Portuguese registration plate, and also owned a 1993 Jaguar XJR6, which he re-registered in Germany under someone else's name on the 4th of May 2007, the day after Madeleine's disappearance. In 2013, German police received a valuable tip about Bruckner's possible involvement, but it took years to gather substantial evidence. Another tip came in 2017, but additional testimonies were still needed. By June 2020, German prosecutors claimed they had concrete evidence that Christian Bruckner had killed Madeleine McCann. In April of next year, Bruckner was given arguido status by Portuguese authorities, enabling them to formally question him and pursue extradition if necessary. During Operation Grange, Bruckner was one of 600 individuals reviewed by detectives, but he was not initially considered as a suspect. However, phone records placed him near Praia da Luz on the 3rd of May 2007, with a 30-minute phone call ending just over an hour before Madeleine disappeared. According to police, geolocation placed his phone around the vicinity of apartment 5A within 5 minutes of Madeleine's disappearance. In May of 2023, German police led a search at the Arid Dam, 50 kilometers from Praia da Luz, a place Bruckner reportedly visited around the time Madeleine disappeared. The search, supported by Portuguese authorities, involved digging and using sniffer dogs. Although bags were removed from the site, authorities have not disclosed what was found. The dam search was significant, as investigators believed the location, referred to by Bruckner as his little paradise, might hold critical clues to Madeleine's fate. In 2024, German police uncovered an email account allegedly linking Bruckner to Madeleine's disappearance. This Hotmail account, opened by Bruckner in January 2007, just months before Madeleine went missing, contained emails related to the killing of a child, although further details have not been disclosed. Investigators also revealed that Bruckner underwent facial surgery 4 months after Madeleine disappeared, allegedly to reset his jaw and straighten his teeth. Throughout the investigation, Bruckner has maintained his innocence. In a series of letters from prison, he denied involvement in Madeleine's disappearance, accusing prosecutors of trying to create a monster out of him. Despite his claims, German prosecutors remain confident in Bruckner's guilt, asserting that while no DNA evidence or body has been found, other circumstantial evidence strongly suggests his involvement. As of the creation of this video, German authorities are actively working to build a solid case against Bruckner, with prosecutors intending to charge him once they have gathered enough evidence. Before we proceed, I would like to state that many people strongly dislike the McCanns for leaving their children alone on that night, which has led to bias against them. While these feelings are understandable, it's important to set those aside and look at the evidence objectively. While researching this case, I've come across various claims that are frequently repeated but lack solid evidence. One claim suggests that Madeleine's death was caused by sedation, or that sedation led her to fall behind the sofa, where she died, and the McCanns later covered it up. Supporting this theory is the fact that sniffer dogs also alerted in this area, and Madeleine's known difficulty sleeping, and a report from neighbor Pamela Fenn, who stated she heard a child crying for about an hour on May 1st, which stopped when the parents returned. On May 3rd, witnesses reported the children appeared very tired, possibly from medication given the previous night, and Madeleine's question to Kate, "Why didn't you come when I cried last night?" raises further suspicion. Some have speculated that the McCanns may have increased the dosage of these sedatives afterward. Additionally, contradictory statements about checkup times and the state of doors and windows suggest attempts to cover up their neglectful actions. The twins' deep sleep through the chaos until the next morning also supports this theory. However, no concrete evidence such as the use of sedatives has ever been found to confirm the theory of sedation. Another frequently discussed point relates to the alleged missing sports bag. Some have speculated that the bag is visible in photos of the wardrobe taken after Madeleine's disappearance. This has led to theories that the cadaver dog later alerted to the empty wardrobe because Madeleine's body was transported in the bag, and although the McCanns had already disposed of the bag by the time the dogs arrived, the scent remained in the wardrobe due to the bag's prior presence. However, in his interview, David Payne, a member of the Tapa 7, clarified that the bag was nothing of that size that you could hide a body in, or anything like that. Another frequently cited claim is that the McCanns supposedly disposed of a fridge in which Madeleine's body or her body parts were hidden. However, I could not find any valid proof or mention of this in the original investigation reports. I'm certain that if the McCanns had indeed disposed of a fridge, as has been claimed, the Spanish police would have thoroughly investigated it. The lack of evidence again shows that not all popular theories hold up under scrutiny. The alerts from the dogs, while notable, have also been criticized by experts. The reliability of these dogs depends on the handler's actions and the conditions of the search. In this case, to some people, it's evident from the search video that the McCann's car was easily identifiable to the handler due to the visible Find Maddie cards. According to some analysts, the dog showed interest in other vehicles, but was repeatedly directed back to the McCann's car by the handler before it finally alerted, a practice not followed with other cars. This kind of handling raises questions about the objectivity of the search. Generally, I trust cadaver dogs, but it's crucial to remember that their alerts are only investigative leads, not proof. For evidence to hold weight, it must lead to tangible findings like physical remains or other forensic clues. Without such confirmation, a dog's alert remains weak, circumstantial evidence, which courts and juries often dismiss. There have been documented instances where cadaver dogs produced false positives. In the Shannon Matthews case, the dogs alerted to various locations, but no relevant evidence was found, as Shannon was later discovered alive. Similarly, in the case of the Haute de la Garenne Children's Home in Jersey, cadaver dogs alerted authorities to what they believed were human remains. This led to a large-scale investigation and media frenzy. However, after extensive digging, it was revealed that the supposed human remains were actually pieces of coconut shell, and no human bodies were ever found. In 2024, a study titled Understanding Cadaver Dogs, Their Role, Reliability, and Limitations found that while cadaver dogs are highly effective in locating human remains, their accuracy can vary based on environmental factors and handler influence. According to this study, cadaver dogs have an accuracy rate ranging from 67% to 83%, meaning there is a margin for error in their findings. Given this, it is entirely possible that the dogs in the McCann's case may have given false positives, as later forensic testing did not find any solid evidence, such as blood or DNA, to support their findings. The presence of DNA traces in the car could easily be explained as secondary transfer from the family's belongings. These alerts have been questioned, especially given the McCann's constant media attention and lack of privacy. If they had truly moved Madeleine's body, it would have been nearly impossible without being caught, given the intense scrutiny from police and the public, especially considering the challenge of not only moving the body, but also disposing of it in another country. Jerry McCann's behavior has been criticized, with some accusing him of acting smug or mocking the Spanish police. However, his demeanor may simply reflect frustration, not guilt. Any father in such a tragic situation would understandably be upset if investigators focused on the victims instead of other leads. It is a known fact that Bruckner was in the vicinity of Praia da Luz when Madeleine disappeared. Given his history of violent crimes and his proximity to the scene, his involvement should be taken seriously. His connection to the case presents a more plausible theory than the McCanns, who have no direct forensic ties to the crime. Bruckner may have abducted Madeleine with the intent to sell her into a child trafficking ring. The noticeable mark under her eye, combined with the intense global search and media coverage, likely compelled him to kill her and dispose of the body near the Arade Dam, a place he referred to as his little paradise. I recognize that while suspicions against the McCanns linger, the available evidence does not conclusively prove their guilt. As the investigation into Bruckner continues, new evidence may still come to light, but I personally believe, based on the evidence and available facts, attention should stay on credible suspects like Bruckner rather than unproven allegations against the McCanns. So, what do you guys think really happened?
Here we go! Let's go! 해고. Here we go. 해고. 해고. Here we go. 해고. Here we go. Here we go. 해고. Here we go. 해고. Here we go. 해고. Here we go. 해고. Woohoo! 해고. Here we go!
let's fucking go.